Hello students, welcome to Loksatta Yashasvi Bhava. Students, we have studied 4 chapters of biology in section B, that is life's internal secrets, regulators of life, life cycle and mapping of our genes. We've also read articles related to these chapters under the column Yashasvi Bhava in Loksatta. We shall now discuss a few hot questions that can be expected in the board examination. HOTS stands for High Order Thinking Skill Questions. These questions carry 6 marks in section A and 6 marks in section B of your paper. That is 12 out of 60, which comes to 20%. Students, remember, 20% of your question paper is completely based on hot questions. As these questions are high order thinking skill questions, they are challenging questions. But students, do not get anxious and apprehensive about these questions. You just need to read the textbook thoroughly, because these questions will not be directly asked from the back of the chapters. Definitely you have to read it between the lines and also be thorough and meticulous while reading the chapters. We shall start with the first chapter of biology in section B, that is life's internal secrets. Let us focus on different types of questions that can be asked as hot questions. As I've told you that these questions carry 6 marks, they can be asked in the form of any type. That is, a question could carry 1 mark or it could also weigh 5 marks. Hot questions can be asked in the form of objective type or in the form of descriptive type. Let's start with the give reasons of life's internal secrets. It is necessary to use tamarind pulp while cooking colocasia or yam vegetables. Students, remember that while attempting a give reason question, your answer has to be in points. So please answer in points. Point number 1, colocasia leaves or yam vegetable contains calcium oxalate crystals, which are also called as raphides. These crystals are needle shaped and hence they hurt or cause itching. They could also cause irritation in the throat. Point number 2, as these raphides dissolve in tamarind pulp and reduce the irritation, it is necessary to use tamarind pulp while cooking colocasia or yam vegetable. The next question, a give reason type of question from life's internal secrets. Veins are thin-walled blood vessels. Point number 1, veins are the blood vessels that carry blood from the different parts of the body to the heart. Point number 2, as blood is carried from different parts of the body to the heart, it is not under high pressure. Therefore, veins are thin-walled blood vessels. The next question, a give reason type of question. Different valves are present in human heart. Valves are present between the atria, that is the upper chambers, and the ventricles. These valves allow the flow of blood only in one particular direction and prevent the backflow of the blood. Thus, valves are present in human heart. Students, now let's discuss about a distinguish between question. Whenever a question is asked to distinguish between any particular point, that is say photosynthesis or respiration, it is very necessary for you to draw a column and then write down those 2 points of differentiation. Each point carries 1 mark. For instance, let's study a difference between photosynthesis and respiration. Point number 1, photosynthesis is a process that takes place only in plants. Respiration is a process that takes place in all living organisms. Point number 2, photosynthesis takes place in plants only during daytime. Respiration, point number 2, respiration takes place in all living organisms throughout the day and night. Point number 3. In photosynthesis, glucose is synthesized. In respiration, glucose gets oxidized. Point number 4. In photosynthesis, there is no production of energy, whereas in respiration, energy is released. Let's now study the difference between arteries and veins. Arteries are thick-walled blood vessels that carry blood from heart to the different parts of the body, whereas veins are thin-walled blood vessels that carry blood from the different parts of the body to the heart. Point number 2. All arteries carry oxygenated blood except the pulmonary artery. Point number 2. For veins, all veins carry deoxygenated blood except the pulmonary vein. Arteries are deeply located, whereas veins are superficially located. Students, kindly remember that distinguish between type of questions will also weigh 2 marks. So it is necessary for you to at least write down 4 points of distinction. If there are only 2 points of distinction, then it is okay if you write down only 2 points of distinction. Example is not a point of distinction. We shall now start with answer the following type of question. Why does a blue-black patch appear on the skin when it is bruised? The answer for this: a bruise damages the blood vessels and hence a bluish-black patch is formed on the skin. This may lead to leakage of blood. The blood platelets, which are present in the blood, they perform the function of blood clotting. Students, we shall now discuss answer the following type of questions which can weigh 2 to 3 marks. Why does a blue-black patch appear on a bruised skin? A bruise damages the network of blood vessels and can cause leakage of blood. The blood platelets, which are present in the blood, perform the function of clotting and try to plug in these leakages. Hence, because of leakage of blood, there is a bluish black patch that appears on a bruised skin. There can also be a kind of question which is in the form of a comprehension. Read the passage and answer the questions. I'm just going to read out a passage for you. A pair of bean-shaped organs are present on the either side of the vertebral column. These organs help in the formation of a liquid which is yellowish in color, which is pee. This pee is carried by the tubes Q and brought and stored in a muscular organ R. From the muscular organ R, it is released out through an opening S. The question is, identify P, Q, R, S and name the process. Students, remember, this question also can be asked for 3 marks. Now, the answer for this: P is urine, which is a yellowish white liquid. Q are the tubes ureter that carry urine from the kidneys. R is the urinary bladder, which helps in the storage of urine, and S is the urethra, that is the opening for urine. And the process related over here is excretion. So each and every part that is to be identified carries half mark and the process carries 1 mark. You could also be asked to define excretion. So this is how hot questions can be asked from the chapter Life's Internal Secrets. Students, let's move on to the next chapter, Regulators of Life. A give reason type of question. Food tastes odd when we have cold. Answer: when we have cold, the nasal organs get inflamed and the sense of taste is temporarily smothered. Hence, we are not able to smell properly, and so the food tastes odd when we have cold. The next give reason type of question: it is necessary to have iodized salt in our diet. Answer: iodine is an important mineral which is very essential for the synthesis of thyroid hormones. Deficiency of iodine can lead to goiter, hypothyroidism, cretinism, that is stunted growth. Differentiate between type of question. Differentiate between cerebrum and cerebellum. Point number 1 for cerebrum, it is the forebrain. Point number 1 for cerebellum, it is a component of hindbrain. Point number 2, cerebrum is a main thinking part of the brain, whereas cerebellum deals with the voluntary activities like jumping, balancing, cycling, etc. Answer the following type of question. Write the difference between a neuron and a nephron, or how is a neuron different from a nephron. Students, you have studied about nephron in the chapter Life's Internal Secrets, and you have studied about neuron in the chapter Regulators of Life. Answer: a neuron is a nerve cell, that is, it is a part of the nervous system, whereas a nephron is the basic unit of filtration which is found in the kidneys, that is, it is a part of the excretory system. Another type of hot question. Observe the diagram and answer the following questions. Students, remember, here you will be given a diagram wherein the labels will be hidden, or they will be labeled as A, B, C. Which part of the figure is responsible for controlling involuntary activities? Name the labeled part. So here, if the labeled part is C, you will write it as part C, and you will also write the name of the label, that is medulla oblongata. Write the function of the labeled part B. Students, remember, you have to write down what is the part B, identify the part B, and then write down the function of part B. So for instance, here part B is cerebellum, and then you will write down the function of cerebellum, that is, it performs the function of voluntary activities, that is jumping, cycling, balance of the body, etc. Write the parts of the central nervous system. The diagram is not labeled as human brain, so here you will be writing it as the parts of the central nervous system are brain and spinal cord. The last question, which is the thinking part of the figure? You will identify it as part A and write down as part A is cerebrum, which is called as the main thinking part of the brain. Name the different types of endocrine glands present in the body, and also write down which gland is responsible for the production of the hormone that controls the blood sugar level. Students, remember, here you will be writing down the names of all the endocrine glands that are present. You can also begin with an introductory statement as to endocrine glands are ductless glands that secrete hormones which are directly released into the bloodstream. You can start with the pineal body, the hypothalamus, thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, the adrenal gland, the pancreas, the ovaries, which are present only in the females, and the testes that are present only in the males. The answer for the next question: pancreas, which is situated just below the stomach, secretes the hormone insulin that controls and monitors the blood glucose level. So this question can also carry 3 marks. Naming all the endocrine glands carries 2 marks, and answering about pancreas that secrete insulin will carry 1 mark. Students, we move on to the next chapter, life cycle. Give reasons. Use of condoms is a good contraceptive method. Condoms protect individuals from sexually transmitted infections and diseases like AIDS. It also helps in population control, and hence use of condoms is a good contraceptive method. Students, please remember to answer your give reason type of question in points. The next type of question: how is menstruation different from fertilization? In females, ovaries produce only 1 egg every month. This egg is released, and if this egg is not fertilized, this egg along with blood and mucus forms a flow that is called as a menstrual flow, which is released from the vagina. This process is called as menstruation. If the egg that is formed gets fertilized or unites with the sperm of the male and forms a zygote, this process is then called as fertilization. This is how menstruation and fertilization are different. A differentiate between type of question, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, point number 1, only one parent is involved in the process or mode of asexual reproduction, whereas in the case of sexual reproduction, it is very essential for male and the female gamete to be present. That is, 2 parents are required. Asexual reproduction occurs in somatic cells, whereas sexual reproduction occurs in germ cells. The type of cell division in asexual reproductions is mitosis, whereas the type of cell division in sexual reproduction is meiosis. In case of asexual reproduction, the offspring that is produced is exactly identical to the parent, whereas in case of sexual reproduction, there is a variation, that is, the offspring is different from that of the parent. The last point, asexual method of reproduction is a rapid method of reproduction, whereas in case of sexual reproduction, it is not that rapid as compared to asexual reproduction. Students, a different kind of hot type of question from this chapter. Observe the diagrammatic representation and answer the following questions. Here I have drawn a representation of parent cell, that is 2n with 2n number of chromosomes, which is giving rise to 2 daughter cells which have 2n and 2n number of chromosomes. That is, the chromosomal number has not changed. Now understand the questions that are asked to study this representation. Name the type of cell division and justify your answer. The type of cell division here is mitosis, and the justification for this is that the chromosomal number remains the same and hence this cell division is mitosis. The next question, which cells show the above type of division? Somatic cells show the above type of division. Name any 2 organisms that reproduce by this method of reproduction. Yeast, hydra, moss reproduce by these methods of reproduction. Write the advantage of the above mode of reproduction. As this is an asexual method of reproduction, the advantage is that it is a rapid process. It helps in rapid reproduction. Thus, students, these are the different types of questions that can be asked from the chapter life cycle. Students, we shall now move on to the last chapter of biology, mapping of our genes. A give reason type of question which can weigh 2 marks. The plants of F1 generation of Mendel's monohybrid cross are phenotypically red and genotypically hybrids. First and foremost, you have to remember that you will be defining what is a phenotype and what is a genotype. Phenotype refers to the physical appearance or any kind of detectable characteristic that is present in the plant, whereas genotype is the genetic constitution of the plant. The second point, in F1 generation, on crossing, it was observed that the red flowers were dominant over the white flowers. Though in the F1 generation, it was also observed that the individuals which were bearing red flowers also contained factors of the white colored flowers. This shows that phenotype as well as genotype is present in the F1 generation. A distinguished type of question, distinguish between monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. Point number 1, monohybrid cross, it involves only one pair of contrasting characters or traits. In case of dihybrid cross, it involves 2 pairs of contrasting characters or traits. In case of monohybrid cross, the phenotypic ratio of F1 generation is 3:1, whereas in case of dihybrid ratio or dihybrid cross, the phenotypic ratio, that is of F1 generation, is 9:3:3:1. We move on to the answer the following type of question, which can be asked for 2 marks or 3 marks. What are fossils? The dead remains or impressions of the plants that have been buried under the rocks and that have been covered by the layers of soil are called as fossils. It takes millions of years for the fossils to get formed. The study of fossils is called as paleontology. The next question, why is vermiform appendix of a man called a vestigial organ? The vermiform appendix of a man is a vestigial organ because it is a non-functional structure now. Our ancestors had appendix to digest cellulose in uncooked food which they ate, but vermiform appendix now is referred as a vestigial organ as it does not perform a particular function. Students, I am sure you have got a fair idea of what kind of hot questions can be asked from biology, that is section B. But please remember that these questions will not be marked as hot questions in the question paper. It is your skill to identify them, and in order to identify them, you definitely have to do meticulous reading, read in between the lines, read the articles thoroughly, and read the textbook thoroughly.